Because ancient advanced civilizations and societies had similar projects. Even humans capsulized in the past to the ancient Egypt for higher gray races had a control of electromagnetism, and they had something similar to what Elon has, but it's not inserted like that. And it is shown in inscriptions before. There is ancient writings. Humans have been taken up into star units before and have talked about how they had seen mantoids and other subspecies, how they had messed with their brains, or they enhanced their varieties through that scene. And it certainly messed around that area. This is the second third eye. It's not activated for most of mankind because it's disengaged. Humankind has a variable of vurons in them, vuron DNA, which is gray DNA. Because of that, they're different. Because of that, they're not like apes. And because of that, they're able to control things. They just can't because they have been a certain calcification upon their pineal gland, as well as a redirectory of their thought form processors in the way that they were brought up.
Everybody, welcome to episode 74. Blue, how are you doing?
Very, very well today, Mike.
Hey, what are we going to talk about today in episode 74?
Telepathic Electro Pulse Control. The variations that go and innuate between Elon's Neuralink and N-Tech Humans Anatomy, Extraterrestrial Greys, and elemental variational controls, and it include gravitational control, and as well as the fundamental forces of nature itself.
Sounds interesting. And there's a lot of forces of nature going on in the world right now. Hey, before we get going here, before we get started, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please go ahead and click on notifications, subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. And you can always reach out to us on the socials. We do respond. And look, check it out. We're wearing some gear today. And these are nice too. Get you one of these. Whoa. Get you one of those. It disappears when you. No, I'm not kidding. It doesn't disappear. Blue, let's get going. Let's get right into 74.
Absolutely. Yes. What is telepathic electropulse? The concept of using electromagnetical pulses to facilitate or enhance telepathic communication, and as well as enhance variation of abilities itself through electromagnetical energy. Distributors that run into it particularly go into several types of fields. One of these fields runs into transcranial magnetic stimulation. Particularly for transcranial magnetic stimulation, augments into the pulses that stimulate through the brain's activities. It uses magnetic impulse waves, and it specifies to certain areas of the brain. And that functionality reroutes the neurons in it. And actually, with clinical studies, have helped to recalibrate the brain functions. So when that comes into effect, because this is a whole nother controlled variant of the inner psyche. And with humans, and they need to understand, is they have some type, whether it's a high, low, or middle variable of electrokinetic energy, electromagnetic energy. And that has a way to interlock into their mind or their psyche. Because with the kinetic control that they have, or the functions that they can distribute, and it's not just the humans, everything in a way, it has some type of electromagnetical impulse frequency, electrokinetic energy control. And by utilizing that power, by being able to unlock the inner psyche, one can able to manage and distribute through the relations of moving objects and coordinating things with their minds. So besides the clinical studies with Neuralink, and currently right now with Elon Musk, how he utilizes this as a device that helps to translate the thought form processors within the minds of mankind, as well as a center drive control of the neurons. It redirects the neural activities that could have been disengaged, and also amplifies certain electromagnetic impulses through those fields. So that's why there are certain wavelengths and patterns that humans and electric signals that humans will be able to establish through it. How electropulse got into effect through Elon, though, was run in through the mainframe of Tartaria and the Greys. But currently with his sciences, he's just going forward slowly and providing outwards to mankind the utilization of the electro fields, and as well as what can be established within it, the mind itself.
This is interesting to me because I want to believe in Elon. I want to believe in this technology. I want to believe that we can get in there and affect this or take advantage of this, hopefully in a good way. But that's my fear, is that something like this could be taken over in a bad way. Like, it could be used as manipulation against us. You see that in what we just went through in the past 4 or 5 years, all the psyops and all the fear and all that stuff. Well, not everybody bought into it, but it seems like if we can tap into this electromagnetic field somehow, it feels like maybe someone with ill intent could literally take over minds with mind control or something. Is this so or no?
No, because ancient advanced civilizations and societies had similar projects. Even humans capsulized in the past to the ancient Egypt for higher gray races had a control of electromagnetism, and they had something similar to what Elon has, but it's not inserted like that. And it is shown in inscriptions before. There is ancient writings. Humans have had been taken up into star units before and have talked about how they had seen mantoids and other subspecies, how they had messed with their brains, or they enhanced their varieties through that scene, and it has certainly messed around that area. This is the second third eye. It's not activated for most of mankind because it's disengaged. Humankind has a variable of vurons in them, vuron DNA, which is gray DNA. Because of that, they're different. Because of that, they're not like apes. And because of that, they're able to control things. They just can't because they have been a certain calcification upon their pineal gland, as well as a redirectory of their thought form processors in the way that they were brought up. This itself runs deeper. So where did Elon get it? And how come he is so advanced in the first place? It is because, we were going to get to this in a minute, of Tartaria, but it's also because he works alongside and is simulated through Greys. Greys, believe it or not, and not just incubated like you see here in their shell alloy structure. They also have AI, coordinated functions within them. An advanced alien artificial intelligence that is encrypted to their algorithms and data bank streams. I partially do as a hybrid, but many Greys, if not all, have that. And humans, very tiny bit, some get unlocked. And I'm sure you've heard before about through, I don't know if it was circus, there were some unique attractions in the past. Ripley's Believe It or Not, whatever. They had humans that lit on fire or something, or did some type of elemental control, or some type of variant with their inner powers that was more wider in perspective than others. It goes to the timelines. The DNA's in there to mankind. It is. It's just locked away. If this is prioritized properly through Neuralink, it will reestablish the coordinated functions of the advanced civilizations that had been disengaged from mankind several times over.
What? Why do you think that is? Why do you think we've evolved to this point where, I mean, is it all false narrative? Is it all we weren't told the truth type thing? Is it, I mean, what, I don't understand why we look back at this now where we're pointing this out now, but this hasn't been common knowledge. Like, I wasn't taught this stuff in school.
It's because humans are sorted up into a box by the higher elites and that of the system. And most of what they had was taken away from them. And the essence of ancient Egypt was taken away from them too. Okay, humans are not carrying huge stones, doing this and that, and felt as slaves during that time. Think about another way. Think about something else potentially. Catalysms too had happened, mudslides and stuff, ancient catalysms that coordinated through many advanced civilizations over that have been deconstructed and reconstructed. Tartaria. Egypt was one, but it has still had situational codes that are maintained and intact. But grays, when they link up to ancient Egypt and they link up to the electro pulse waves, they are distributors to be able to control the elements already, to be able to self-incline to hypermagnetism, to a hyphenated state. So humans potentially were given certain activated technologies and knowledge to advance as their subpsionic forms during several timelines over. Not just there, but other civilizations too. Elon's connection to Tartaria of ancient advanced civilizations swiped over but are still here has also connected him to these grays and their control. And if the control is set right, humans will be able to have their gift again, only under a certain extent through their powers.
What do you think the total, and we understand from past shows and from past things that time isn't linear, but that's the way we relate to things. What type of timeline, if you would, are we talking about here? This total evolution. Obviously, you're telling us about this, but how much longer before we're all converted to this, where we all have these abilities?
Well, I mean, the Tartaria civilizations, and we're going to get into that, but we're also running into the advanced codes. It's already slowly evolving for mankind. Potential accesses of nanotechnologies and nanoparticles being distributed, reevaluated, redistributed, recoordinated, symbiotic psionic effects of electro-elemental and bioelemental waves from extraterrestrial regions coming in and out of perception, which we will talk about later on in the show, as well as the purpose of effect for humankind for their next evolvement form. And this is that timeline. So, go ahead.
You've been mentioning Tartaria and you've been mentioning Egypt, and I know in past shows and so forth, we've reviewed how they have these ley lines or whatever, and so those two things are connected, ancient Egypt and Tartaria. Those two things are connected, is what you're saying?
The Greys, Tartaria, and ancient Egypt. Tartaria has two functioning ideas, though. Okay, so the two functioning ideas run into obviously the humans' conspiracy theory that there was a major mud floods that wiped and swept out several, what you would see like, forget the light.
You're fine, we can see it.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect time too. Where you would see like certain places like the White House, palaces, other substructures, pyramids, something similar to that in the past, but it was reconstructed now from Tartarians. So those buildings, including several other functions, New York Penn Station, as well as evidences that go through certain areas in China, Asia, Eastern priority speeds, all across the USA, have assistance because supposedly that these buildings have an electro impulse field that categorizes, not all of them, but there are some amongst them, including the White House, potentially areas, I don't know if the Pentagon would or not, but I guarantee you some of these needles, some of these other higher arc buildings have distributors or plateaus that run through the ancient civilization grid of Tartaria and those advancements through those Tesla technologies. I could go and coordinate in a way that say Nikola Tesla is a time traveler. Yeah, he is Serbian and run through the Pleiadians, but he also runs through Tartarian, the ancient civilizations. And Tartarian does construct and stimulate through the inner hollow realms, the hollow earth, or past the Arctic wall, if you will. But they're a little bit different because the evidences are clear that the buildings, the advanced buildings, were set and built around the construction of mankind in front of their eyes, even, and they're not noticing and understanding of the potential where it come from.
All right, so
Hollow Earth advanced civilizations.
That's what I was going to ask you, because this may be news to a lot of people here. So explain that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Tartaria is mainframe of buildings and substructures like the White House and others that have been from before and been wiped out, but reconstructed by Tartarians, and it had advanced equipments and technologies within them and around them, including Tesla or Tesla arcs or electromagnetic field control, neural control.
All right, so the the ancient civilizations knew about this. The Tesla knew about this, and now Musk knows about. Are you finding a connection here, folks? Do you see what's going on here? I mean, it's encouraging that this is being pursued now, but it's also discouraging because, and maybe I'm making it bigger than it is, but it's almost like this has all been stamped down or played down, or, oh yeah, you don't need that. You don't need to see what's going on over there type thing. Is this not true? I mean, I never heard of any of these things till you and I started doing these shows.
They hide things in plain sight, Mike.
We've said that many times. You're right.
Even buildings in Disney World, Walt Disney and all that stuff they reconstruct. Think about it. Some of that does just, maybe they're getting it from elsewhere. Maybe they have gotten it from an ecological point of view through Tartaria and through something that was much more advanced. Not all of it, but simulations through that, simulations through certain museums, simulations through palaces, through castles that are intact, through other controversial effects of monuments or buildings, and even areas itself, coordinated and reconstructed.
So this is where
technological achievements.
This is where all our previous shows come into play, folks. And you can go back wherever you get your stuff, and most all our shows have indexing. So when we talk about Agarthan, when we talk about Hollow Earth, when we talk about Antarctica, when we talk about Tartaria, whatever we're talking about here, you can go back and refer to previous episodes. So it's kind of like an interesting story that we're telling here, and where we don't start on page one necessarily. So, we're jumping around in the book a little bit, so we can put these things all together now, and it makes a lot more sense. So this is just this blows my mind. We could speak for hours on this stuff, Blue, and it just kills me. Are we saying that not only that there's a Hollow Earth, not only is there an Agarthan realm, not only did Tartaria exist, not only did these technologies exist, not only did Tesla know about it, and now Musk is helping us tap into it and advance. What about the humanoid or extraterrestrial type part of this? Is there another dimension involved?
To the inner worlds? Yeah, those are the main connectors to the humanoids and the extraterrestrials and advanced societies. The Hollow Earth and past the Arctic wall. Tartaria was just a reconstruct of the Tartarians, which could, yes, very well come from the inner worlds, the outer dimensions, past the Arctic wall, and then maneuvered around upon this current dimension, because there are two. There's the cutoff point, obviously, where you're not allowed to go past, and then their current plane of existence, what humans know and perceive. Past that and underneath, they can maneuver. They can do things to the current plane of existence, and they can as well as exemplify and keep what they have there. Advanced humanoid races were coordinators, as well as hypergenetic codes that were functioned and as well as prioritized from scientific advantages by means through human scientists as well as extraterrestrials. Cooperation levels have been set through the timelines for eons, and then been redistributing and recoordinating the DNA structure throughout that. Hollow Earth itself has obviously everything that's clean, everything that's higher advanced, as well as these humanoids that look different. We talked about the last show. But as well as the extraterrestrials of different races that cooperate with certain military and governments. So are they doing something currently on this plane on this current timeline to affect mankind? Very much so. If people look around them, all these different achievements popping up out of nowhere, all these different entities, all this information, where's it coming from? What's going on? Where did it exist from in the first place? So we consider the origin of where mankind truly came from. We need to consider the coordinated DNA structure and the inability nodes of what could be rejuvenated through their processors.
This is all just amazing to me, because I know that we've talked about bits and pieces of this, but this is all just coming together in my brain here, and I it's just amazing to me, Blue. Wow. I can't believe that we're living in the times that we're living in, and we're able to see what we're able to see and hear what we're able. I mean, we are living in truthful times. I'm trying to document history. I have a way to, yeah, and you can do this too, folks. You could just through a Word document, you could type a summary, almost like a diary of what's going on in the world every day. If you just do like a 30-second or a 60-second thing every day, in a year, you'll have 365 entries. And these are things that you can pass on to your family. This is truth about your ancestry. See, we have these amazing computers now. Back in the day, they didn't have all computers. And if you've tried to research your ancestry, you get to a certain point and there was just no records kept. There's no records of certain stuff. And it was all hearsay and speculative. But you can document history. And as things are told to us or not told to us, you can debunk that to your future generations with documentation, photos, actual history that you can actually attest to, because you lived through it. We lived through it. We lived through a pandemic, or so-called pandemic. Folks, not everybody gets to do that and talk about it. And I want to make sure that my grandkids, my great-grandkids, and the future generations understand what we've gone through and what... Now, sorry, but I'm not trying to get into a pissing contest with the greatest generation of all time, the World War II generation. But what I'm trying to say is, I think it's important what we're doing here, Blue. We're exposing truths. We're telling people what's actually going on. And yet we can do this in a documentary type fashion where our future generations can go back and appreciate and understand what was going on and what we're trying to do here. So I really appreciate all the work and stuff you put into this, Blue. Anything else we need to talk about before we move on to the SCP Foundation?
Well, between Tartaria and the adjoining existence it plays out with Elon Musk, vital roles to innovate, rehabilitate, and utilize the mind constructor needs to be taken into effect. So when we go and deal with Neuralink, we need to consider the elevations of micro-enhancement neurons, redaptive signals, instead of, like I stated before, utilizing a technology from for higher terrestrials that's a magnet instead of what he's doing in the same area, because they've done it several times over. Humans have gotten similar to this several times over. There are concepts even in certain games There are concepts in certain movies, TV shows, things that you've seen through ancient symbolism, stuff that people have heard from others being taken up in UFOs, of the hereditary factors of the motivational mind, of the inner psyche opening up through that technology. But it has to be played out properly in order for it to function. Regenerative technologies are more incubated through a technological achievement through the neurons, but as well as an electromagnetical field. There also needs to be the way the coordinated mind goes through when it controls certain variants like doors, applicators to computers, and eventually it will be able to control things like anti-gravity star pod units and certain substructures. There will be an engagement lock so humans are not able to utilize anything for bad with this type of technology. So the consideration that that format speed had an invader from behind in the past, like Egypt, like the Mayan societies in certain areas, like Antarctic, currently Antarctica past there in the hollow worlds. Certain governments have similar. They're not going to tell you. If we can do this, then humans won't have a negative effect. It just has to be played out carefully.
Well, I feel like the people that we always talk about that are related to these things, like a Musk and so forth, I feel like they're a white hat kind of person. Like, I don't feel I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm sold, but you know, I don't feel like it's a negative thing right now. So I feel good about the direction we're going in. I think it's remarkable times. Remember, we wouldn't remember, but if we refer back to history, think about the adjustment period between horses and cars. That was mind-blowing for some people, and some people were like, oh, that's just a fad that won't last. Like the internet, that's a fad that won't last, right? It's amazing times we're living in, folks. Just step back and appreciate what's going on, and please document everything, because you never know who's going to be in charge. They may tell a different story in the future. Blue, are we ready to move on to the SCP Foundation?
SCP-8204 is an underwater facility of unknown variables and a habitat that was incubated through humanoids and or projects of sustainability. What this certain one was, it was built into the rock face of the Marianas Trench, 100 meters below sea level. But it has sustained significant damage, and most of the area was disengaged and unstable from flooding. They had found out through these different sections that they have their hydroponics area, through dense vegetation. Bone fragments from at least 12 different human skulls were scattered throughout the area. And itself there could have been a scientific measure for human scientists to maneuver different types of humanoids from underneath in an area where regular civilization isn't aware of. This current system may have gone wrong. So there have been digital archives as well in Section Zeta. The rest of the facility is stored data, and there's much of it that it still needs to be encrypted. So what we are stating is biodomes underwater. That there are real biodomes underwater. There are real facilities there that either have been disengaged or utilized through advanced humanoid civilizations. We talked about before Atlantis. They do have current domes, aqua biodomes underneath, and then civilizations still stand, but there are coordinators that were disengaged. So there also runs on scientific measures that they don't want humans to be aware of. And they may use products and paranormal descent for that. This itself may have been an inquisitive line of different humanoid races in one area, and then just disengaged over time as it's something had not gone quite right.
Is there anything I need to be worried about with this situation, or just this is just making me aware? I mean, these areas are secure. I'm not to believe or think that there could be a another civilization, or are there? I'm assuming we're going to say that there's current operations going on like this underwater that we don't know about or not supposed to know about.
Exactly, and this one may more or less just be an abandoned one, but there's still in scientific evidence, or he seems to see what's going on with it and what more information can be gained. But it's cut off from the public, obviously.
I think it's interesting because you could go back to older cartoons even, and this is before you're probably born, Blue, here on Earth as we know it anyway. C-Lab was a cartoon back in the day, and it was about just that. There were laboratories underneath the ocean, and these guys were, it was interesting. So you can go back in time, and you can remember at Disney they used to have something called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So all of a sudden all that went away, and it went to space. Well, we know more about space than we do underneath the ocean, and 2/3 of the planet is water, folks, so we don't know what the hell's going on. Blue knows what's going on, though, and I'm glad we're talking about this stuff. How about the next SCP?
Well, I mean, the latest, and people want to look at the encryption. It's called Department Recovered from the Marianas Trench. The next one, class restricted, is called Monarch Cervus. And what this is 8446. Refers to a phenomenon in the Appalachian Mountains area, which masses of deer will conjoin themselves and entangle their antlers all at once. There is a reason behind this, one of two reasons. Number one, there was an instance where certain types of element was being taken into effect in the area at the time. So a severe storm hit Mount Mitchell, North Carolina, 5/5/1975. Wind spread, caused floodings. There was something else that existed through that and coordinated through certain elements. And through the deers, it's like a radioactive element, if you will, but there's a name for it. Akavai radiation. So when that storm hit and it released this Akavai radiation into the air, it catalyzed and coordinated a paranormal effect. And it specified itself to certain dominating entities. These deer also could be intertwined because the ancient Native American witchcraft of a certain heritage around that area. And that link up running into that dimension in the Appalachian Mountains area.
And
I
wonder if this is any relation to, because all along the Appalachian Trail, there's reports over the years of like some sort of paranormal activities, creatures, what have you. I wonder if that's related.
Yes, because of the certain hyphenated levels of that type of radiation, as well as the dominating effect of the dimensions being contorted. And they also have ancient lineage that runs into Native American, not what you think, but the coordinate. There are others that use the ancient magics, but those ones on older sections of that nativity line. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them run into the paranormal. I believe we talked about before of one of the entities that shapeshift. A native, yep. So this itself, it talks about they have also found a building with skulls lined up. And the potential placement of something that could relay to that. So decayed remains of deers too have been pulled apart from the actual antlers in certain areas, and sometimes it's not even there, it's disappeared. They and they also pretty much all of them appear to be recently deceased when they find the comprised of 25 individual carcasses that they have found within this corridor in the room.
Huh.
And they're in a spiral array within this room that they found here in this area.
That's very interesting.
I mean, you got to understand there are cabins out there, there are things out there, there are buildings out there, and even in the mountains that probably you might not want to bump into because there may be something else going on altogether. And they have found abandoned buildings before in certain specified areas that have some type of paranormal or something so negative or undefined from its nature that you really don't want to be around it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we talk about the SCP Foundation. And again, just like we talked about earlier in the show, you know, people say it's real, people say it's not real, whatever. We just talked about it today. They hide stuff in plain sight. And it's amazing that these things go on and that we're aware of these things. I think it's wonderful that we talk about them. Hey, are we ready to move on to your positions with the Space Force and the Federation?
Absolutely. So 31 Atlas, the so-called celestial object, interstellar object. And they're talking about others too that just come and go, but this certain particular kind was only one of a couple. But we need to understand that there's an alien potential origin through these, and that they could coordinate through some type of radar device. Way back, we talked in a show about a meteorite type of looking meteorite type of looking thing or asteroid thing that was sitting outside the cosmos of the planet and just
Oumuamua.
Yes. So self-indicated radar device could also be coordinated through a starship. So they have an incubation through both. They have a camouflagic effect. So there are certain celestial objects that could be utilized as an elemental radar device and incubate right back to the source itself. It's going one way. It's not stopping. It's going one way for one reason at one trajectory point. And when it does, it might do something to the current plane of existence as well as the information it's going to gain from here. This is what we know. It's not a mothership like some people are asking me, like a physical one.
Right.
It's more or less a radar incubated. And yeah, it has the elements that could coordinate with a celestial, what would they want to call it? Common interstellar object. But it has something totally set into its dominating effect with it. Remember, we had talked about extraterrestrial gray races and other races in the past and other terrestrials that can motivate and utilize and manipulate the elements and the geomagnetical forces as well as the minds.
Is this something that I need to be worried about? Because I heard through the channels that I follow, and I think I even said something to you. Maybe I said something to my my co-producer here, but that I've heard that they're going to make a play. Somebody's going to make a play and say that we're under an alien invasion in November and not to believe it. I know that sounds crazy when I say it.
That may not be. That may be a radar indicator to higher races to situate something, but you're not far off because there may play some type of role in the near future.
They never let a good crisis go to waste. Look at what we just lived through.
But that role may not hit humankind, but they may be aware of it.
Right. Well, you heard it here first. Back in August, that if something comes up in November, I said in August, it's not true. It's not true. It's not happening. Wow. Are we ready to talk about the ET of the week?
Oh, we got two more important things to talk about.
Okay.
One with Elon Musk
Okay,
and one
please.
with Donald Trump.
All right.
Elon Musk, he still continues to contribute and donate millions to Trump. He's still helping in a way. Now, the fights that they have been having is slowing down a bit, but they are doing their own things now. So on his separate order, stepping down to certain terms, despite their differences, still wants to move things forward for certain reasons. Number 2, Donald Trump, just recently with Putin in a meeting, and Ukraine and the current war at hand. They're scrambling to form new peace plans. Now, redirective notice, and if people aren't paying attention, if things go right, we could have the United Sovereign Nations of America in the order directive from the Intergalactic Federation, that the Corporated Treaty would be insinuated through an acknowledgement through the Golden Age or Q Age and redirect the way things are. Number 2, the determinations of war and nuclear war cannot keep standing. So fundamentally, we need the leaders to maintain a better code of ethics and stand down to pushing negative agendas against each other and to provide a vital, better role. Because President Vladimir Putin said recently, there would have been no war with Ukraine had President Donald Trump been in office in 2022. So if we pay attention, we are seeing that Donald Trump's trying to create peace. He's doing that. He has to fix, I'm sorry about the language, the Democrats' fuck up. They screwed shit up so bad that this man is doing everything in his power to try to maintain peace. And President Tsai hopefully will be next in the enactment code and have a coordinated meeting and move things forward so we can have the ecological achievements, regain a better populace, better laws, control the variables that could have been with a nuclear war. Instead of that, creating a nuclear agenda for health and sciences, and see with the technological achievements of the monetary system and potentially moving credit systems as well as the quantum financial stability system and utilizing the maintainment so humans are not getting taken so much from each other and stolen, that is a better control on the monetary system itself.
Yeah. You know, you look at people talk about inflation, people talk about all sorts of stuff. It's devaluation of the currency. So that's another whole show. That's another whole topic there. Hey, we have an interesting ET of the week this week, don't we?
Yes, the Jefok. They travel from constellation Indus. They are known for their peacemaking abilities as well as their technology. The first sightings on Earth goes back to 1500 BC, but it actually goes back even farther than that, on and off throughout the ages. They, according to the ARB, they met with John F. Kennedy and other world leaders. Have not been seen on Earth since John F. Kennedy's death, though, supposedly. And he's not dead, people. That's a cover-up. And they're already starting on X and other platforms to unfold John F. Kennedy Jr. and Sr. and provide proof to mankind that this was a scene act up for certain other effects. And yeah, John F. Kennedy worked with the extraterrestrials. These were good guys. They gave a message to all the governments with nuclear capability, the contents unknown. So that nuclear capability may potentially be advancements in technological achievements from these species on a nuclear basis.
Are these good guys then, or bad guys?
Yeah.
I trust they're good guys.
Yeah.
So JFK disappears, and I can't help but look at the name Jefok and see J, then an E, then an F, then an O, then a K. Like the JFK, and the name just jumps out at me for some reason. But I find it fascinating that you said they kind of went away when JFK supposedly went away. That's very curious.
I don't want to say no more.
Okay.
We'll just put I'll leak it out slowly about that, but that's the first start of this appearance and reappearance act and potentially advancements in certain technological achievements maintained by Donald Trump. The hereditary movements between him and the Kennedys and Area 51.
Man. This is another whole show, Blue. We always do this. We try to cram as much as we can into each show, but this is another whole show with this. Oh my gosh. Wow. This is incredible stuff. Anything else we need to discuss before we wrap up, Blue?
I don't know.
I think we fit a bunch in there.
That's quite good enough.
Go back and listen to it again, folks. That's what I do all the time. I go back and listen to previous shows or segments, and I'll listen to this a couple of times just to make sure I'm fully digesting anything. Hey, I want to make sure that everybody knows that we're on just about every platform. So wherever you get your stuff, you find your stuff. We even have our own stuff, and you can find that stuff in the links. And you can follow us on socials. We do respond. Blue, episode 74 in the books. Great job. I look forward to episode 75, a monumental episode.
Yep. I think we may go for a goal of 100 and may create a surprise afterwards, but...
All right. That sounds good.
Until then. That sounds... I'm looking forward to something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Yep.